Shalom again, everybody. Rabbi Ariel here from the KosherTorah School, found online at KosherTorah.com. I want to share with you a teaching of the sages, which goes like this. It says, Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim, which means that the stories of our forefathers are a sign for us today. In other words, when we read the biblical stories of the patriarchs, matriarchs, and the like, we're not just reading stories in history. We're actually reading archetypal experiences that have been recorded for us to learn from. In other words, what happens to Abraham and to Sarah happens to all of us. What happens to Isaac and to Jacob and later to David and the rest happens to all of us. All of these characters in the Bible, aside from being historical individuals, they're also, like we use the psychology term, archetypes, meaning that there's a part of them in all of us. So by our studying their stories, we understand things about life in general and about ourselves in particular. In the Jewish tradition, as you may know, we read the Torah over a cycle of the year, and every week then has its Torah portion, Parashat HaShavua. And in this week, we're beginning with Genesis chapter 12. We're reading the story of Avram. It's not yet Avraham. And the story begins with God's commandment to Avram, pick up, leave home, go someplace else. And the written tradition picks up Avram's life when he's already 75 years old. I mean, good gosh, where's Avram been all these years? Well, our oral traditions pass things down to us. Then those oral traditions over the years, of course, have been written down. And we know many things about the life of Avram, as well as the other patriarchs and the like, of which were not recorded in the written tradition of the book of Genesis. Now, remember something about our Torah tradition. We go back a long way. And even though our brothers and sisters in Christianity have only adopted our written Torah and have created their own traditions around it, well, we Jews have always had our traditions around our Torah, our oral Torah, which again, over the many centuries, much of which has been written down. And it's usually unknown to people outside of a Jewish framework what the original oral teachings are. We know one thing about the person of Abraham. Abraham, if you will, was, as we know from religion, the founder of faith. He stood up for God. But there's a very important verse that usually gets overlooked in Genesis. God says to Avram, walk before me and be perfect. Well, it doesn't say perfect. The Hebrew word is tamim, which actually means to be pure or innocent or simple. Have a simple, honest lifestyle. That's what it means to be tamim. But God said, walk before me. Now, what does that mean? In my presence, that I see everything? No. God said to Avram, you go first, and I'll bless what you do. But you take the first step. You take the action. We're coming into dark times now. The chaos that is being created right now is being created for a reason. And that reason is a very dark, nefarious one. You might remember the revelations I shared with you that I had back on Rosh Hashanah, where in which I was in my spiritual travels, for lack of a better word. I think today many will call that astral projection and the like, whatever. I encountered a very powerful, real dark Lord. And this entity saw me in my astral form and approached me and came to me and said to me, very, very matter of fact, no anger, just looked me in the face and said, am I here to oppose his agenda? And my response was, I'm not here for anything other than to serve God. And I actually remember I said in the Aramaic from our prayers that we recite, specifically a prayer called Barich Shmem Demari Alma. It's actually a prayer from the Zohar that we recite when we open the Ark of the Covenant on Shabbat. If any of you are interested to hear that prayer, go look to Steven Spielberg's movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. And in the last scene, when you had that evil Nazi guy dressing up as the high priest, and he's saying some Aramaic words, that's the Baruch Shmei, the Mari Alma prayer, believe it or not. But okay, aside from all that, Anna Abda de Kucha Barichu, I am the servant of the Holy One, blessed be He. That is what I endeavored to do with my life. That is how I answered the dark entity. I said, you have your agenda, I have mine. And we both understood that we're both doing the will of heaven. The dark side is doing the will of heaven? Yes. You don't understand. The dark side has no choice other than to do the will of heaven. A point that we make very clear in our Torah tradition that's echoed throughout all of the Jewish scriptures is that entity who we call the prosecutor, the Satan, the one, the Samakel, all right, the bad guy. He is God's servant. He doesn't do anything other than what God allows him to do. Look at the story with Job. Oh, he's very good at what he does, but God allows it. In our previous video, I made a reference to Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, accidentally misquoted as Genesis. One of my students picked up on that in the text. You read the comments in the last one, so apologizing for a little slip up of the tongue there. God creates, authors, is the source of light, darkness, everything. This is God's plan. And you need to understand God has a plan. I don't care what the plans of the dark side are. I don't care who is behind provoking a war between the United States and Russia, using, if you will, the Israelis, the Arabs, the Iranians, if you will, as pawns. There are human forces behind this. Yes, that's true. And there are other higher entity, non-human forces behind them. That's true too. And then we'll go up a notch, and there are higher forces above them. So you have the dark, evil, bad human people are doing what they are doing at the behest of the dark, psychic, spiritual, and demonic, whatever forces that you want. But they're being directed or watched and observed by the Irin Wakadosh, the watchers, who themselves are taking orders from higher dimensional entities, and it goes all the way up the chain of command to God. We learn this. We didn't even need to wait to the book of Daniel to tell us this. Right here in this week's Torah portion, God commanded Avram to do a strange covenant. We call it the Brit Bein HaBetarim. Took animals, sliced them in half, split them up. And this is a very archetypal, symbolic showing to Avram, I have a plan for the human experience, what I call schoolhouse earth. And it's going to unfold step by step, stage by stage. In our Torah tradition, we've known this. We teach this, usually privately in the secret. These are the original secrets of the Torah, entrusted to the prophets, but a prophet had to be able to experience and see these things psychically. These were not things written down in books. And being that I teach this prophetic Kabbalistic tradition, this is why I'm here. Because my agenda, if you will, is to try to help anyone and everyone who wants to, that's you, see through the chaos that is coming and to see through the darkness of the new world order that will come after that chaos. Because I know many of you are so desperately waiting for the magical Messiah to come out of the sky, singing the old Mighty Mouse song. I'm dating myself from cartoons from the 50s. Here I come to save the day. Well, I would love for that magical scenario to unfold. But I'm going to anger and disappoint many by telling you it's not coming. This war that is upon us, is it really going to be fought? I mean, Israel hasn't gone into Gaza yet. Are the forces that be going to hold them back? Is there going to be some kind of negotiated settlement, or is all hell going to break loose? There's a plan. You need to understand this. God is behind all their plans. And as it says in Psalm 2, the nations will make their plan and God laughs. It's an old Yiddish saying, man plans and God laughs. And let me just give you another wise bit of word about the plans of man. In the wise words of the Scottish poet Robert Burns, who said, the best laid plans of mice and men, I won't try to say it in his original Scottish, I know I'll mess it up. In English, often go awry. God knows what they're planning. God is watching. We need to learn from the experience of the patriarchs to be like Avram, the man who merited that God showed him and told him his plan and told him what to do to get through it. Abraham was a righteous man. Abraham was a good man. God said, you go first. I'll bless what you do. I'll bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. If you are a righteous, decent, and moral human being, walking in the path of Avram, the Torah portion also speaks of Avram's encounter with that guy called Melchizedek. Whole bunch of ideas. Who is Melchizedek? In our Torah tradition, he's identified as Shem, the son of Noach. In other Enochian traditions, he is identified in a different way. Of course, the Christian tradition has their own versions of things. It doesn't matter. All right, we're not here to argue dogma and doctrine and to identify characters to create differences of opinions, anger, and strife. We don't need any of that. But Melchizedek was considered to be the Kohen to El Elyon, the God on high. He is the priest of the universal religion, which is the righteous code, the moral code, that which is given to all humanity, given to Noah after the flood, given to Adam in the Garden of Eden, that which we all need to embrace and observe as righteous and decent moral human beings, with Avram being our role model. Sometimes you gotta, as they say, get out of Dodge, or in Avram's case, he had to get out of Ur Kasdim, right? He had to go to what in those days were the rural sticks. And God gave him a promise of inheritance. You know, Avram never got that promise fulfilled. The promise fulfilled wasn't until, gosh, hundreds of years later, as we know. But we stand by God's promises. We believe in them. And we do not contribute to the coming chaos. If you need to hate evil. If you need to hate chaos. If you need to hate those forces which are working to destroy you, not those forces which are working to help you. Do not project your hate onto a group. let me tell you this, and I know many of my peers are not going to like what I'm saying, but I'll tell the truth. I try to always do that. Arabs aren't the bad guys here, not even the Gazans. You got good people everywhere, and they're suffering now. Why? Because Israelis. Oh, everyone wants to say, well, you're a rabbi, you're a Jew, so you got to support them. There's a lot in Israel that's worthy of support. You're right. And there's a whole lot more that just isn't worthy of support. And I refuse to support that. And I'm not going to get into details and stuff. Israelis on the ground know exactly what I'm talking about. You have good and bad amongst everyone and everywhere. If you want to rise up and bless that which is good everywhere. You want to rise up and curse that which is bad everywhere. Don't draw lines. Don't point fingers and say, this group is at fault and that group is at fault. It's all the fault of the Jews. Let's gas the Jews. It's all the fault of the Arabs. Let's kill all the Arabs. Forget that. That is the voice of chaos. That is the voice of evil. God doesn't see things like that. And we don't have the right to see things like that either. No, Mashiach is not coming to save us now. The scenario, the plan, the divine plan has not yet come to its fruition. And do you know why out of the chaos more darkness will come? The New World Order, the real Dajjal, the real Antichrist, the real Armelos. Why this one is coming? The answer is because that's what's inside of us. The majority of us still want darkness. We're not ready for the light. So how do we battle and fight that? Like I said, look inside yourself. Look back to the role model of the patriarchs, the matriarchs, and recognize and understand they're all parts inside of us. In the Kabbalah, they get into great details about this. They make associations to help us understand how God works through the energies of the universe. We call that the pattern of the 10 Sefirot. And the Sefirot, of course, correspond to the individual patriarchs and matriarchs, as the case may be, because they're all one and whole. Remember, you can't have male without female, can't have female without male. Only male and female together are called Adam, man. So I'm not going to get into that. It's another topic for another time. But understand, the plan must unfold. And as long as there is darkness in the heart of man, male and female, then darkness is what's going to come out of him. That's why so many people will be deceived by the coming darkness of the New World Order, which will rise out of the chaos, the little horn that's spoken about in Daniel, that rises out of the death of the three kings who, like we shared before, are interpreted and understood to be capitalism, socialism, and communism. Yeah, all three of those forms of governments will go by the way, and a new, more devastating, crushing form is coming. And why? Because that's what we're calling for. Well, not me, I'm different. Good. Be different. Because it is your individual light, and don't underestimate yourself as a person. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. I don't care where you are. You have what it takes to become a warrior. How? By being like Avram, by following the role models of what we see in the Tanakh. Now, I'm running kind of short on time, so let me just share with you, because there's so much education here to have. You want to learn about the whatchamacallit, the plan? Well, here's my book, The Visions of the End of Days. It's my Kabbalistic commentary to Daniel. The link is below if you want it. You want to learn how to project psychic energy to contribute in this war as a positive force of psychic energy? It's my book, Using the Holy Names of God. Right? That's actually part 2. You want more information? Get my book, no link. All of this is there. I'll put the links in there so you can have access to it. They're all available on Amazon, because there's so much more to learn than what I can cover here. Guys, the darkness is coming because the darkness is still inside us. And it's God's plan that everything's going to happen now to help remove that, heal it. The Hebrew word is tikkun, rectify it. Individually, we need to contribute to that. So this is now our time, our purpose, our goal to rise up to be the beacons of light in the time of oncoming storm. I pray that each of us will take these lessons to heart and do it. God's blessings to us all. Thank you all for listening. I pray that we should have peace. God should, I pray, protect and bless the righteous and the innocent. As for those who walk in darkness and create the chaos, they're in God's hands. Let's leave them there. Let us focus what we need to focus on. God's blessings to you all. Shalom.